today we're gonna discuss about the structure part, right? So structure, union, maybe file handling. These are the few topics which we have left on with this course. So structure part is one of the very important one with respect to C or C++, because the thing is, this structure gives you more liberty to handle more amount of data, right? So what is this structure, how do we handle it, how to write a program, working with structures. And yeah, people are quite afraid of this particular term. I'm sure newcomers, whoever so I mean the new learners, whoever so start with this programming, and they used to go up to this array or structure part. They used to get bored because it's a somewhat toughest part. But I believe like it is somewhat important one also. So please give your concentration, just give your focus, so that this part should be understood very easily, and you can use this structure part basically in your upcoming projects also. Cool. So let us start with this particular topic. So first of all, let me share my screen. Yeah, right. So this was this syllabus here till pointer, which we have discussed. Recursion we have discussed, functions, strings, or other part of this particular syllabus which we have already covered. Right, one by one we have gone through with all these topics, right? So today we are going with structures. So inside structures we need to discuss about what is structure, how do we use them, array of structures in C, nested structure, pointers basically, and pointers, once we'll use pointers basically with the structures. And what is this type def function, or type def is keyword basically in C, and what is the difference between define and type def keyword. So let us try to go with the topic one by one, right? And let us understand first of all what is the structure and why do we need it. So earlier we had, whenever you will have doubt, please ask. You can either message or ask in between whenever you want. Okay, so don't worry about it. Now, what do we know? Suppose I have a data, suppose a number. I want to store that into a variable. I can do it like that, right? It's very easy. But and like we need to give whether it's an integer or float or something like that, right? So if we have multiple data like 5, 7, 9, 8, something like this, right? All these numeric data. So we can use this with pointers either, or arrays, like that, right? So we can put int a of 5, and then we can put everything inside this section. This is how we can store this type of information. What if I have any string, that we can go with any type of character type array, right? Which we can store like that, a, b, c, something like this, right? But what if I have table, I have tabular data, I have multiple data types of data, right? I have data like integer inside that data is available. I have characters, I have string, right? I have multiple different type of data type values or data available in one of the table, right? I have a data set in which the first column that represent is to serial number, then name, then marks or percentage of marks, right? So likewise, suppose I have a data of one of the college student, where we are managing about all these marks and attendance and everything, right? So this type of tabular format data that we have available, so we cannot manage this data with whatever we have studied till now, maybe with the help of integers or characters or array or something like that, because array is the collection of similar type of data. Now we have got another topic which helps us to actually store or process this type of information whenever we have multiple different types of data types, right? So what is this structure? So we got another topic called structure, right? This new topic is structure. So this structure actually is nothing but a collection of multiple data types, right? Variables of multiple data types. So how does it help us? How will it help us to actually work with these kind of data sets or data values? So let us understand that as well. Okay, so suppose I have this kind of information. Let us just go with three important points. Maybe serial number, name, and percentage of marks, right? Name and marks. So we have got number of students. So first, second, third. Suppose the first name of the first student is Sor. Name of the second student is suppose LNB. Name of the third student is TN. Techinis, suppose, right? So we have 50% of marks is for Saurav. For LNB it is 70%. Suppose for Techinis it's 75%, right? So these are the information. These are the actual data set or data values that we have available. It can be literally long. It can have millions of values, right? It can have millions of values. Now we need to understand how to handle, how to store this type of information, right? Because suppose there are Facebook users, Facebook FB users. There are n number of users for any application, maybe Netflix, maybe Amazon Prime, right? Amazon Prime, maybe Netflix, right? Whatever portal or application or any product that you are talking about. Maybe Facebook users also, WhatsApp user also. So whenever they are actually entering any data, right, on any web portal, on any maybe application, web or app, online, right? So they are giving their information through this particular sign up page, and whatever this information they are entering up, right? Name, this and that, this and that. So everything is going back to a database. But database, what it does, what it does. So this is suppose your, wait, suppose this is your sign up page. Sign up page, right? We have three entries: serial number, the name, and marks, right? Then there is a button called submit. So as soon as your first student is coming up, he's entering his number, ID, or something like this, or automatically number is getting increased. So name, he has entered SOR, right? Then marks, he has entered suppose 50%. And as soon as he'll be entering or pressing this button called submit button, then what will happen? There'll be two processes, right? Here, that is what we have available: database, right? Database. So inside this database, there will be a tabular form, same tabular form. To store this entire information to this tabular format of data, we should have variables which will carry these variables will carry the information from this sign up page to database. So database is something different, and this sign up page is something different. Maybe this sign up page is in X technology, right? It can be in React or maybe HTML page or something like this, but database is there with MySQL, right? SQL, right? It can be MongoDB or something like this. Any database is there. So both of them are of different identity to carry information from one specific tag to different tag, right? So we have some variables. So these variables, suppose the variable is S for serial number, right? For N is for name, M is for marks. These three variables that will be requiring to carry our information from this page to database, right? But to suppose instead of three information, we may have 15 information, 20 information, right? 20 information for a sign up page. Like while you are signing up for the first time with Gmail or Google. So they'll ask you a couple of information, mobile numbers, right, email ID, your passwords, your pat name, this and that, right, for security reasons. So these 20 informations of different kind, maybe somewhere you'll enter your mobile number, you'll be entering your email ID, address, something like this, right? So maybe your profile picture also. So all together you have different data type. Then you will require these many number of variables, right? So you need to remember all those values, right, whenever you are going into this database to store those information. Maybe out of these 20 information, 5 informations are of such type which you can skip also, right? There is an option in your sign up page which you can skip also. So out of 20 information, only 15 informations are going with the actual data, right? 5 information would be or 5 variables would be just blank. So to manage all these, mismatching or such, huge information flow from various or millions of users on Facebook or WhatsApp or on any particular application, using various different variables, it's quite difficult to handle this in this particular case. What you can do is you can do it through structures. I hope you have got the idea now. Is that clear now? So using structures, what you can do, you can actually represent this entire information. You can represent this entire information maybe of different variables. Like your first variable was s, then n, then m. With you can make a group and you can represent it through one single variable called record, right? It can be called as record. So one single record can be used then further processing from this particular page to database. And in between, if you have some specific algorithm just to check whether the information which was entered by a user are correct or not, whether he entered the right username, maybe username which he has entered was already available in our database earlier or not, right? So it will fetch some information from database. This algorithm will fetch some information from database, the information which is being entered by user, right? So everything will be checked. Then whether some specific, suppose you are entering your password also. So password, inside password you need to enter one capital case, small case, like that. You have number of other use cases, or maybe the cases to define with these kind of algorithms. So if you have to go through with all such processes in between database and you are processing from the front end, then this record or structure type of variable will help you to deal with all such kind of processing further very easily. I hope you have understood the requirement now. This was the great requirement for structure, right? If you're not using C language, maybe you'll use Python, you'll use some other language. Then what will happen, you may have different terms. You would need these things, I'm sure. Structure is needed, right? But instead of calling that particular term as a structure in Python, right, or in Java, right, or in other maybe Pascal or other different many different languages, they can be calling it with a different name, right? But structure type of requirement, maybe a kind of variable which is representing it to a structure, is required to us, right? So this is where we need structure now. So this was the part of requirement, and which was not earlier discussed. There was no other topic which was actually solving this issue, right, of having multiple information of various kind, right, and representing it to a particular single variable only, right? That has been that is happening just because of structure only now. Okay. Now for the first part was need. Now need we have discussed very well, right? The second thing is syntax. How do we define it? Let us talk about how do we define the structure. Okay. So in C language or in C programming language, so there is a keyword called struct, right? This struct keyword is mandatory. Like we have keyword called int, right, char, like that we have struct keyword for structure definition. Like we have a string also to define strings, right? So we have struct keyword. Then you need to mention any particular structure variable, right? So suppose your variable name is record. Then you have to mention the entire record and then semicolon. So in this record you may have number of things. Suppose the first thing is serial number, SN, right? SN should be of numeric type, because that we have seen already. The SN, name or percentage of marks, right? So name, the second thing is name. So char, we can give n, or this name should be of only 50 letters, right? The third thing is percentage of marks. So percentage of marks could be in numeric also again. So we can write int marks only, right, or pm only, right? So these three variables which will be the part of record only. So now this record will be used further to process any information related to serial number, related to name, or related to percentage of marks. I hope this thing is clear. Shall we go ahead now? Right? Is that clear now? Need of this structure is clear, and the syntax of this particular structure is clear. How to define it? We did not understand till now. We did not take an example really to implement this structure part, right? So we have understood about syntax. The third part is implementation, right? Implementation. So how to use this structure basically, or structure definition basically, in a program. Okay, so suppose let us talk about one use case specifically. I want that user should enter, because serial number should be automatically increasing, so we should not go with serial number. Let's talk about name and percentage of marks. Okay, these two parameters are there. So user should enter name, right, and then he should enter the percentage of marks. Okay, so these two things will be entered by a user, right? This will be the program, and whatever is actually entered by user should be stored in these two variables of struct inside this record. This is what we want, and whatever is stored in this record, we want to print this also. So that we can check whether what is stored inside this record, and whatever is available. Okay, so this is what is the requirement that we have to implement basically, to understand what is this structure and how does it work, and how to work with this structure basically, right, in other words. So this is what is one of the small program that we have seen here. Okay, I can just go with the other definition also. You can check it like this. So what we have done, this is one specific part that you can see here. We have made a record, right, of one particular variable where we need the name of the name of the candidate or name of the student, and percentage of marks that he has obtained. Okay, now what will happen next? inside this main function inside this main function, to use structures, this is what is this part of code is called as definition of structure. Okay, so this is how you have defined the structure of structure. Okay, so this is your structure, means this is how you define the part of structure, where inside this bracket, inside these bracket, right, you need to put the entire table or tabular format, right? So the first thing is name, and second thing is percentage of marks. If you need mobile numbers, if you need some more information, you can go with some more variables. Okay, yeah. So in main function, what you have to do is you have to actually define one particular agent to call, or number of users to call this structure record. Okay, so we have made a structure with a name called record. So to actually use this record structure, we have to define one particular agent. Okay, so this is my one of the variable s1. You can say this is my student number one, right? So we are maintaining record for number of different students, right? So we have gone through with student number one. So student number one, which can leverage the use or the structure of this particular record. Okay, now we want to ask, right? We want to ask from the user, right? So enter your name, right? So scanf within bracket percentage of, or percentile s, because we are talking about string. The first thing is name, then you can go with s1 dot name. So what is happening here, s1 dot name will directly direct or link it to this s1 variable, will be linking it to name, right? So what will happen here, s1 dot name directly, whatever we will be entering, whatever user will be entering, will be actually stored into this variable. And because this variable is a part of this record, it means you are indirectly making a kind of record. Okay, you are maintaining that particular record inside. Okay, now if we need to ask for marks also. Printf enter your enter your marks, right? Then again scanf within bracket percentile d comma ampersand s1 dot marks, right? Likewise here also we need to go through with ampersand, right? Yeah, so whatever will be entering will be stored in s1 dot name, s1 dot marks. Now we want to print the values of these two variables also, whatever is stored, we want to check that as well. So print percentile s comma or backslash n comma s1 dot name, right? Not printf it is, right? Similarly printf within bracket percentile d comma s1 dot marks, right? So what we are doing here, first of all we are entering the first entry of this record, then we are entering the second entry of this record, which is mark, right? And whatever we have entered the values of both the records, then we are printing those values basically which we have entered, just to check whether the values are stored in these variables or not, or in this record or not, right? Okay, so let us run this code. I have already selected the language is C here, right? Okay, so let me run this code now. So what is the problem? Percentile s, where it is, okay, and before that semicolon. Yeah, yeah, so it's compiling the program. Yeah, so we have to enter the first record that I have entered. SOR enter your marks. So suppose I have entered 50%. Yeah, so we've got both these entries done. So both these entries are stored in these two variables. So the example that we have taken for this specific program is to just check whether the record is getting those entries done or not. Okay, so here you can write down also your name is, right. Similarly, your marks are. Okay, so let me run this code, which will just beautify this line of output. Name is Sor and marks are. I should not do it. Yeah. So your name is Sor and your marks are 50. Okay. We can write down the next line of code also. Here we can write percent also. Right. Print f percent. Cool. And let us check this once more. Yeah. So your marks are 50. Okay, so we need to write it here because percentage marks is not coming up. Percentage. Yeah, I think you are getting up this thing. Is that okay? Is that understood? Bavev and the other people, please let me know. Yeah, so this is coming up perfectly. So this is how you can actually start working with the structures, right? So you just need to go through with this keyword where you have to define these variables and the role of these variables, right? The role of these variables are of, can be of different can be in different perspective. Okay, so right now we were interested to just go with two different identities. The one is for name of the student and second is for marks, right? So we maintained this record for one of the student. If we want it for second one also, so what we can do, we can write it for struct record s2, right? Similarly it is for second student. And what we can do, we can make it for the copy paste, right? And yeah, so we can paste it over here, right? Here just need to maintain it for s2 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 and this is for s2, right? So the structure is same. Number of variable that we have that we are actually defining once in the structure is once we have defined only, right? But we are using those variables multiple times here. Okay, for student number 1, student number 2, student number 3, like that we can use it for multiple students. Okay, so let me run this program. Okay, something has happened. Struct as truct. Cool. This was the mistake. Yeah, so the first entry is, suppose sor enter marks are 50, right? And your name is sor, your marks are 50%, or enter your name. So the another entry of the another student, right? Suppose the another student is LNB. Okay, then marks are suppose 70, right? So this is how you can do it. How, instead of this you can do one more task, even just you can replace it with um, with loop maybe, right? You can use it for loop. For int I is equal to 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus, so it will run it for 3 times, right? So entire loop it will be running for 3 times. And you don't need s2 student number 2, right? And one more thing that we have to write it here backslash, so that things must be coming in next line. So run this code. So it will run it for 3 times. SOR 50%. Yeah. So the next is LNB for 70%. One more time, it is TN, right? So 75%. Like that, this loop is running continuously, and we can use it for multiple purposes, right?